ना बख्शा जे। मैं कदी ना भुल्लां कि जो सब कुछ दे सकदा है ਉਹ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ, ਸਿਰਫ ਉਹ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਨਜ਼ੂਰ ਹੈ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਨਾ ਮਿਲੇ ਜੋ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਦੂਰ ਕਰੇ। ਮੇਰੇ ਗੁਨਾਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਖਸ਼ ਦੇਣਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ। ਅਸੀਂ ਚੰਗੇ ਮਾੜੇ ਤੇਰੇ, ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਖਸ਼ੋ। ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀਤੇ ਪਾਪ ਬਥੇਰੇ, ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਖਸ਼ੋ। ਬਸ ਇਹੀ ਉਹ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ। ਜੈ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ, ਸ਼ੁਕਰਾਨਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ।
नमस्ते, सत श्री अकाल गुरु जी और गुरु जी की प्यारी संगत। आज का हुक्मनामा दरबार साहब राग सूही छंत महला चौथा कर तीजा एक ओंकार सतगुर प्रसाद। आवो संत जनो गुण गावो गोविंद केरे राम, गुरमुख मिल रहिए करवाजे सबद कनेरे राम। शबद कनेरे हर प्रभ तेरे तू करता सब थाई, एहनस जपी सदा सालाही सात शबद लिव लाई। व्याख्या। हे संत जनो आओ साध संगत विच मिल के परमात्मा दे गुण गांदे रहिए। हे संत जनो गुरु दी शरण पै के प्रभ चरना विच जुड़े रहना चाहिदा है। प्रभ चरना विच जुड़न दी बरकत नाल हिरदे घर विच प्रभु दी सिफत सलाह दे शब्द अपना प्रभाव पाई रखते हन। हे प्रभु, ज्यों-ज्यों तेरी सिफत सलाह दे शब्द मनुख दे हिरदे विच प्रभाव पांदे हन, त्यों-त्यों तू उस नूं सब थाई वसदा दिसदा है। हे प्रभु, मेरे उत्ते भी मेहर कर। मैं दिन रात तेरा नाम जपदा रहा, मैं सदा तेरी सिफत सलाह करदा रहा। मैं तेरी सदा थिर सिफत सलाह विच सुरत जोड़ी रखा। शुक्राना प्रभु दा, शुक्राना गुरु जी का, that he has given us this blessing that we are able to do his sift salah, that is praise, in the form of satsangs that are our blessings. सुनने वाले का भी भला, सत्संग करने वाले का भी कल्याण. And Guruji is giving us strength in these times. We don't know who needs those blessings, and Guruji has made us come even closer in these testing times. और वो हमें हर जगह दिखते हैं, घर घर में उन्होंने मंदिर बना दिए हैं। हमारे पास वर्ड्स नहीं है उनको शुक्राना कहने के। And he is blessing us today by sending Timsi Malhotra Aunty and Nitin uncle, who would share their journey with Guruji Maharaj and their blessings, which would have lot of messages for God knows who, and each one of us feels blessed to be part of this. With folded hands and bowed head, I request Aunty and Uncle to unmute themselves. Over to you, Timsi Aunty.
Jai Guruji, Sangatji.
Jai Guruji, everybody.
Thank you, Guruji, for giving us this opportunity to share our journey with him, with all of you. अगर कोई भूल चूक हो तो गुरुजी उसके लिए माफ कीजिएगा. So I'll start by talking that there's going to be a lot of time traveling all the way back to 2010 as we'll progress in our journey. But the first time when we came face to face with Guruji was September 29th, which was a Saturday in 2018. I'll talk a little bit about how we got connected. We are from California, living in Irvine. My brother-in-law, so my sister's husband, back in India, he's in Delhi, Noida, and he had been asking, he's been a devotee of Guruji for a few years now, and he used to mention about Guruji off and on every time I would visit India. And he would say, you should come, sometime with me, you will feel nice. But because, I'm not sure who is from Delhi, but like general, psyche of Guru in India is like, you want to kind of run away every time there's a mention of, any Guru. And with the same kind of like perception about, any Guru, I used to kind of just nod my head and never show any interest. So in 2018, in July, I was visiting India with my son, and he happened to mention, Guruji again. I had absolutely no idea about how he looked, who he was, nothing at all. And so he said, come along. And I said, okay, but because I was not fully convinced about going, I guess, and Guruji always knows what your intention is. I never fall sick, but I felt so severely sick at the time that I could not go. And it was just that our son is now, he's going to be 11 years, and there's a big satsang that we'll be sharing later on. His name is Arjun, and he just got a chance to go with him for a few minutes. He tekoed matha Guruji ke samne, and he came back. So that was it. In July we came back, and it was kind of like done deal for me. And I was like, okay, not talking about Guruji, because I had not seen him still. And so time passed by. One day I was out for a walk, and my sister, I was on a call with her, and she again happened to mention Guruji, and she said, why don't you look up, if you're able to find any sangat there or satsangs happening in the US. And like I said, that I had no idea about Guruji. I thought, who would be knowing him here? Like, there could, like, what are the odds, and what are the chances of me finding anyone knowing about him? And so we happened to have a long conversation, and she was like, no, as soon as you go back home, jump online, try to look for it. How do you know that, there's not going to be anyone? And to my surprise, I was just shocked to see, how much of followership Guruji had, and like, Sangat here in the US. So back then we were in the Bay Area, Northern California, and we were living in Fremont, and there is a big like sangat wahan pe. It's about 200, 300, sangat. I sent an email, and then I started getting information about the details about the satsangs happening every Saturdays. So as Guruji, I have heard so much that uncle used to mention that Guruji wahan pe jo Bay Area mein the, that from the time you uh, want to go or set your intention, Guruji knows. So in Bay Area, normally the structure is from like 6 p.m. and the satsangs would go on until like 10 p.m. It being a weekend, Saturday evening, not knowing about him still anything, it felt like a huge commitment. And my uncle had no idea about Guruji either. So I looked up all the details, and we were like, okay, let's go. I went up to him and I asked him, would you want to come along? And he said, no, what am I going to do? Like, you go and see how you feel. And I was like, I don't want to go alone. If you're going to come along, it would just make it more easy for me to go into it. Even I don't know what to expect. I have no idea. And let's just go and, see. We don't have to go for the entire length of the satsang. We can go for like 15, 20 minutes. And if we don't like it, we'll come back. Now, again, like Guruji knew what was our intention. So from July until September end, which is 29th September, when we first met Guruji, every Saturday, literally, we made plans of going, but the intention was just to go for 15 minutes or 20 minutes at the most and come back. And believe us that Guruji didn't let us come to his darbar. There were a couple of times when we were ready and we still could not go. There was some guest who came unannounced, which has never happened in our life. Or there would be some problem or the other last minute, and we just could not go until September 29th, when the satsang was in Tracy, which is about 2-hour drive from us. And so because we were going to drive such a long length, we thought might as well just go for the entire time. So now that the intention was correct, and we committed to the entire length, Guruji allowed us to come see him. So that's how our first satsang happened. And again, not knowing anything about him, I had done no research. I don't like to normally do a lot of research beforehand and kind of have my perception or like, opinions made. So we went in, and I remember I called the auntie who's hosting this satsang, and I asked her, auntie, what is the protocol? Do I bring something? What am I wearing? And she started laughing, and then she gave me a little bit of like a heads up about who Guruji is. And I was so naive and didn't know anything about Guruji, just had a vague idea that he's physically not present. But aunties, I still remember the first sentence was, I said, so when does the satsang start? And she said, Guruji aayenge, we'll be welcoming, he'll come at 6 p.m. And in my heart, I was like, what is she saying? Like he's gonna come at 6 p.m. So anyways, I didn't question her. I went up to uncle and I said, I'm not sure if Guruji is like he's there or what is it, but she said like Guruji is gonna come at 6 p.m. So we drove, and on our way to Tracy, my son fell sick for some reason, we don't know. And he started throwing up just before, when we were kind of close, like 15 minutes close to the house where the satsang was hosted. And as soon as we entered, we got late because of, we had to make multiple stops as he was throwing up. And when we entered, the entire house was filled up with sangat. And I remember like the moment I entered, I saw Guruji Swaroop, which is the first time I was actually seeing him, like how he looks. And I was in complete awe of Guruji. Like I just could not take my eyes off. I did not know what was happening to me. All I wanted to do was just keep looking at him. And so there was barely any space for us to sit. And the house was double storied. So we went up the stairs, and there was this auntie. She was sitting there, and she saw me all of a sudden, obviously, because it was our first time, we didn't know anyone. And she looked at me, and she immediately got up and gave me her place to sit. So we all sat down, and my son still not feeling okay, and he was kind of like feeling pukish. I don't know what happened. Guruji's, now when you look back, you go and you understand everything. It was Guruji's way of connecting us, and, he has everything planned. But at that point, this auntie makes it her business about how my son was feeling and how he was throwing up. And every 5 minutes, she would turn around and check on us, check on him. And she would ask the sevadars to come give us chai prasad and everything. It just felt like we were at a place which was so hard for me to at that point kind of understand, because I was like, how do you enter in one place and somebody kind of makes your business theirs and offers everything in their capacity to make you feel home? And so she, throughout the length of the satsang, she kept checking in. She was looking after my son. And then after that, when the satsang kind of got over, after the aarti, she came up to me and she started talking to me, sharing, how she got connected. She also got connected the same year in July, so just a few months before us. And as I, mentioned that our son is kind of like a big piece of this, the entire journey. Just to give you some context, he was born with a complex medical history, which Uncle will elaborate in a little bit. And he has some medical diagnosis. So this auntie, she comes up to me, she randomly like starts sharing her journey, how she got connected, started talking about her kids. And one of her sons happened to have the same diagnosis as our son. And she started talking about like how in just these few months, she is seeing such a big shift and progress in her son. So at that point, again, we were so new, we were just listening, and I had no idea what Guruji's, plan was. So, but I was kind of a little surprised, because to me it was more like, is it a coincidence that someone comes, feels so connected, happens to share her journey, be so open about it. And so then finally, anyways, we chatted, and when we went to take agya from Guruji, I there were these two aunties sitting, and they were randomly handing out swaroop or flowers or something to the entire sangat. And it was just random. It was not like everyone was getting a flower or a swaroop or whatever they were giving at the time. It was just random. And so when I took agya, I got Guruji's my very first pocket size swaroop, and I was just very happy. I didn't know, again, like how it all works, and how Guruji's swaroop comes to you. So when I went up to the auntie at whose house this satsang was, I just said, okay, thank you and namaste and all that. And so she looked at my hand and she's like, ओ आपको तो स्वरूप मिल गया, आपका तो instant admission हो गया गुरुजी के दरबार में, because you will not believe that यहाँ पे इतनी संगत आती है and they long for Guruji's swaroop, and it's just Guruji's will and desire कि who will get the swaroop or not. Seeing this in your hand, I can tell you for sure आपका admission हो गया गुरुजी के दरबार में, वो भी instant. So again, it was like, okay, I felt happy, came back. And then few months passed, we were going off and on. Saturdays were, again, still a huge commitment. And so, we would go sometimes we would not. And the entire year kind of passed through. Then Uncle can share.
Yeah, so I'm probably the more objective of the two. Even though our journey started at the same time, we started talking about at our home about Guruji at the same time. It still took me a lot longer because growing up, childhood, I really was a little bit indifferent as far as any kind of religion was concerned. I was in Delhi, India. My parents used to follow Hindu religion. I used to follow it with them. I used to go to mandirs. I used to go to gurudwaras. And it never really made much sense to me, to be very honest, to be very fair. And then during my early adulthood or late teenage, really, there was one time when I went to a mandir, and as you know, sometimes in mandirs in Delhi especially, you get pushed around a lot. There's a lot of people. So I was carrying my wallet and I got pickpocketed. So it was pretty much from that point onwards that I became so indifferent to any kind of religion that I stopped following anything, with the exception of gurudwaras. Every now and then when I would go to a gurudwara, I would feel at peace, at ease, but I really didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what the purpose of this whole thing was. And then all the stories started to come about in Delhi as it pertains to all the gurus. So fast forward many, many years, in 2018, when we started talking about Guruji, I was really just coming along for the ride. So she would say, let's go to Guruji. If I didn't have anything else to do, I would come with her most of the time. In fact, all the time, we've always been there together, as a matter of fact. Yeah. But my first real experience of his presence came about a few months after September of 2018. Before that, anytime I would go to any of the satsangs, one thing that was very common about this was the decorum that people maintained, was the cleanliness, was the discipline, was the way that people meditated, was the way that people sang along when they played mantra jap in the end, was the way that people were sharing the satsangs. And even though I was liking all of that, I was liking the vibe of all of that, when I was hearing all of those satsangs, I was trying to objectify it. And I thought it was just people kind of raving about their stories. So my objective, logical mind, I was still trying to be dismissive about all of this. So one day, I think this was either November or December, we went to a satsang. तो वहां पे जाके एक चीज पता चल गई थी कि as part of the decorum, as part of the discipline, you do not use your mobile phone. So this one time, and I wasn't using my mobile phone in any of the previous satsangs. Um, and this one time, this satsang in November, December, in the middle of the satsang, I started using my mobile phone. I mean, I had just too much work. So it was late in the evening on a Saturday, on a Saturday, but I had too much work to do. So I'm like, okay, you know what? The music is going on. I'm listening to the music. I'm here. I'm in the darbar. So what is the harm in me just, taking out my mobile phone, checking a few emails and sending a few messages? So as I was doing that, Timsi Aunty, she looks at me and she goes, no. She gestures, no. And I gesture back, what's the big deal? And I keep playing with my mobile phone. Well, doing real work, but keep playing with my mobile phone. She gestures again, same thing, and I keep going on. So satsang ends, or the shabads end, the mantra jap ends, and then we have the langar prasad. Everybody is sharing their satsangs. And one thing that used to happen in San Francisco satsangs is right in the end, as people are doing the final matha teko and they're going, they used to give everybody a flower. So you kind of get in the line, 200-300 people, you get in the line, aap apna matha tekte ho, aur uske baad there would be somebody sitting on the side, they would give you a flower and you would just take it home with you. And every time I was just going through the motions, like you do that, you get a flower, you bring it home, and she would keep it in a safe box at home. I think we still have that box with a lot of those initial flowers. And the remarkable thing is, every time you open that box, you can still smell all of the roses from 3 years ago. So same thing that day, we went and we got on the line. So my son first, then my mom, who was actually in town with us, then Timsi Aunty, and then I was in the line. So my son goes, वो अपना मत्था टेकता है, उसको फूल मिलता है, वो चला जाता है. My mom goes, वो अपना मत्था टेकती है, मॉम को फूल, my mom, उनको फूल मिलता है, वो चली जाती हैं. Timsi Aunty मत्था टेकती हैं, उनको फूल मिलता है, वो चली जाती हैं. मैं जाता हूँ, मैं मत्था टेकता हूँ. मुझे जो साइड में, there are two little girls sitting. They look at me, but they don't give me the flower. So anyway, I go back, and then she's making fun of me. It's because you were using your mobile phone during the satsang. And I'm like, okay, you know what? This is not scientific at all, so I'm not believing this. So to prove her wrong, to be honest, I get in the line again. There is 200-300 people, so the line goes on for a long time. And I go again. The person in front of me, matha tekte hain, unko flower milta hai, wo chale jate hain. मैं जाता हूँ, मैं मत्था टेकता हूँ. This time there are two different girls, two different set of girls. They look at me, they still do not give me a flower. So again, dejected, I go in the back and I talk to her again, and she is kind of like pulling my leg, and she's going, it is because of the mobile phone. So you just need to apologize. And I'm like, this is still not true. I mean, there is no science. I get in the line one more time. I go through the same motion again. And sure as hell, once again, मैं मत्था टेकता हूँ. It's a different set of girls again. They look at me. They still do not give me the flower. So I go in the back again. And she goes, you just need to apologize. तो अभी तक क्या होता है कि सबके सब मत्था टेक के और फूल लेके चले जाते हैं. And they're starting to wrap up the darbar. I think the term used is badhao the darbar. So they're kind of dismantling the back decoration. They're taking the vases away. They're taking the swarups away. They're taking all the signages away and everything else. But she goes to me, you just need to apologize. So at least apologize. And finally, even though I'm not believing her, I'm like, I did make a mistake. So let me just go and apologize. So picture this. Out of the 200-300 people, most of the people are gone. There is probably only about 20-30 people there. And everything is kind of dismantled. There is not even a swarup left, but the chair is there. The gaddi is there. The gaddi is there, and where you do the matha teko, that stuff is still there. So I basically go from a distance and I'm going, Guruji, I'm sorry. I was on my mobile phone. Please forgive me. और मैं वहां मत्था टेकता हूँ, और जैसे ही मैं मत्था टेक के उठता हूँ, वहां पे साइड में जो एक अंकल खड़े थे, और वो लाइटें लपेट रहे थे. And he goes, Uncle, क्या हुआ? मैंने कहा अंकल कुछ नहीं. बोलते अंकल आपको फूल मिला? मैंने कहा नो अंकल मुझे फूल नहीं मिला. Then he instructs in the distance, he instructs this little girl. He goes, hey, पीछे से फूल लेके आओ और इन अंकल को फूल दो. तो वो छोटी लड़की आके मुझे फूल देती है, मैं पीछे जाता हूँ. That's the first time I kind of start to realize, but I'm still being a little bit dismissive that, maybe it's just a happy coincidence. I didn't get the flower the first time, the second time, the third time, and fourth time by accident, I got the flower. I remember that night, as I went to bed, I'm like, let me just try this one more time. So as I went to bed, I kind of sat up first, and I was speaking to, I'm talking to myself, and I'm going, Guruji, मैं अपनी आंखें बंद करूंगा. And if you're here, I'm getting goosebumps as I think about this. मैं अपनी आंखें बंद करूंगा. And if you're here, prove it. As many of us go through, right? Prove it. Do this and I'll believe, do that and I'll believe. So that probably is the only time that I ever did it. And I remember I closed my eyes and suddenly in my physical space, I felt the presence of somebody. So it's one of those feelings that if you kind of close your eyes, if somebody comes in your personal space, they're there, even if you're not looking at them. Even if you don't know who they are, even if you're not looking at them, there is somebody there. It's like if you're sitting and somebody goes by you, somebody just went by you. So I'm sitting on my bed, tall. I have got my eyes closed and I'm thinking, Guruji, prove to me. And suddenly I feel this presence that is so remarkable that I was scared. Now, the obvious thing to do would be to open your eyes and to see, but I was so scared that if I opened my eyes, I would actually see Guruji. I actually, within a few seconds, I basically lied down and I slept. But that was the day when I felt his presence, his power, his existence, and that even if it doesn't make sense, it's not meant to make sense. So that was kind of my introduction to Guruji.
So then in the December of 2018, we went to India again, and this time we decided to go to Bade Mandir. That was our first time when we went to Bade Mandir, and the experience was nice. हम लोगों को सबसे आगे बैठने को मिला, and we got to experience Guruji's presence वहाँ पे. But honestly, it wasn't that much of a feel for me because we were still kind of in and out of going to satsangs. And this auntie who I met, we met in our first satsang, she had been extremely instrumental in making sure that we come, because she would call me every Saturday that we missed, that why didn't you guys come? And she'd be like, I think mere ko Guruji messages de rahe hain, and he's making me kind of tell you that you guys should start coming regularly. So again, I think we've all been through the same process and journey initially, that we try to it's kind of like hit or a miss. Sometimes we go, sometimes we don't, especially if the satsangs are over the weekends and 4 or 5 hours long, you're not too sure about it. So then anyways, 2018 happened. We went to Bade Mandir, came back. January, I was kind of still like, theek hai, jayenge. I think the entire January, we could not go. And then Feb came, 2019. I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened. No, actually, I think it was Mahashivratri. And we got our very first big, kind of like this big of a Swaroop. And that is the Swaroop jo Guruji ka, it's like this, he's his face is there and he's like that. And I think the kind of like the magic happened for me through that Swaroop in that moment, that from Feb onwards, there came a phase in my life when all I wanted to do was listen to the Shabads. All I wanted to do was keep looking at his Swaroop. All I wanted to do is talk about him. All I wanted to do was listen to his satsangs and want to know more about him. Would go online, read satsangs, read about him, his life. And it just became such a deep urge in me that I didn't want to think about anything else. Like if anyone was like, even uncle, if he wanted to talk to me about something else, I would be irritated because I was like, no, just talk to me about Guruji. Or I would just go, to him and be like, I found out this about him, or I heard, this satsang, isn't that beautiful? And I think, who are, as like all of us, we are connected to Guruji. We always, I think we all have felt such a pull, such a deep urge to know and learn more about him. And when I think that click happens, then there is no looking back. And for me, it was that month of Feb after Mahashivratri 2019 that ever since then I have not looked back. Like his existence in our life, in my life, is like I can literally say that I breathe Guruji. There is not even a single second that I will not think about him. And I'm so thankful, so grateful for, working his magic on us, because I think, that's the point when the major shift happened from Bollywood songs to, the Shabads becoming your songs, your way of enjoying music. And also, when we had so many friends and we would party every weekend, and it became a clear instruction to them that Saturday evenings you can't keep anything, or if you are having anything, then we are not going to be there. And to them also, it was kind of like, what just happened all of a sudden. It was very hard for us to explain them. And just slowly and gradually, it became a necessity of our lives. So that was kind of like, the moment, or the month when I felt that sudden shift, and there has not been a looking back since then.
So yeah, in April of 2019, we went to, just like Timsi Aunty said, we would go to every single satsang, every single Saturday in the evening. So सैन फ्रांसिस्को जहां हम पहले रहते थे, अप्रैल 2019 में भी वहीं थे. तो सैटरडे को हम सत्संग में जाते हैं वहां पे. तो वहां पे जल प्रसाद की जगह वहां पे एक छोटी वाटर की बोतल देते हैं. सो फॉर दोज इन द यूएस इट्स द स्मॉल कर्कलैंड की बोतल वहां पे जो जल प्रसाद के लिए देते हैं. सो आई यूज्ड टू डू सेवा वहां पे. And something really strange happened on that day. More satsang than expected came. So it was more than the 200-300 that we had accounted for. So as I was doing seva, thankfully we had more water bottles left so that we could give to more satsang. तो मैं ही सबको जल प्रसाद बांट रहा था. तो जैसे ही टिम्सी आंटी, अर्जुन मेरा बेटा और मेरी मदर की जैसी बारी आई, तो मेरे पास से वो छोटी बोतल खत्म हो गई. So I went back in the kitchen. तो मैंने जो किचन का जिन्होंने चार्ज लिया हुआ था, तो मैंने उनसे पूछा कि अंकल अभी तो सत्संग बाकी है, अब क्या करें? तो उन्होंने बोला ये दूसरी बॉटल्स हैं, ये देनी चालू कर दो. तो वो बॉटल थी बड़े साइज की. तो मैं गया, ऑफ कोर्स सबको पानी तो देना ही है, जल प्रसाद तो देना ही है. तो मैंने वो बड़ी वाली बॉटल ली एंड आई गिव इट टू टिम्सी आंटी, अर्जुन, माय मॉम एंड एवरी अदर सत्संग जिनको अभी तक जल प्रसाद नहीं मिला था. So generally, as they say, as part of the decorum, as part of the discipline, whatever you get at Guruji ke darbar, you finish it right there. That is where it acts like, call it medicine, call it magic, call it whatever you wish to. But that is when you get the most power out of it. That is when you get the most benefit out of it. And we've always done that. Whenever we get anything at Guruji's darbar, we finish it right there. चाहे वो जल प्रसाद हो, चाहे वो चाय प्रसाद हो, चाहे वो लंगर प्रसाद हो, चाहे वो स्नैक प्रसाद, चाय प्रसाद, including our son, everybody else. But that day, बड़ी बड़ी bottles थी, तो हमसे finish नहीं हो पाई. तो हमारे पास total मिला के 4 bottles हो गई. तो that was the very first day and the only day जब हमसे जल प्रसाद finish नहीं हुआ. तो anyway, after apologizing to Guruji, we left the satsang. तो उसके बाद next day, Sunday, a very normal Sunday for us, we wake up And we ask Arjun, what do you want to do? What do you want to eat? And he says that, मेरे को आज burger खाने का मन है. So for those in the US, you will know there's a burger joint called In-N-Out. He's a really big fan of that joint. And he goes, वहाँ जाके burger खाना मुझे. मैंने कहा चलो चलते हैं. तो हम वहाँ burger shop पे जाते हैं. और जैसे मैं कार पार्क करता हूँ, he's sitting in the back seat and he jumps out of the car. He's very excited about this joint. And he's like, I'm going to get my favorite burger. And he comes out of the door and he goes to the next side, the other side, where my mom is sitting, where his grandmom is sitting. And as his grandmom is coming out of my mom, as she is coming out of the car, he kind of holds on to the door. And she shuts the door and his fingers pinch within the car door. Now, this is a heavy car and his fingers are pinched. And we are already seeing blood. So as soon as I open the door, he pulls out his hand and, there is blood everywhere. So we are at this burger joint place और उसके हम बाहर खड़े हुए हैं और एकदम से मतलब कार में उसका हाथ आ गया और वो बाहर जैसे निकालता है ढेर सारा उसका खून निकलना चालू हो जाता है. And he starts crying. He starts bawling. He really starts bawling his eyes out. And my mom is freaking out. I'm freaking out. I generally don't show much, but I'm freaking out as well. And Timsi Aunty is freaking out. And suddenly she starts going, Jai Guruji, Jai Guruji, Jai Guruji, Jai Guruji. And, the logical part of me is still going, this is not the time. We got to do something about what's going on. So now this is a very fast moving event, as you know how it happens. Now in about 5 to 10 seconds, she starts saying, Jai Guruji, Jai Guruji, Jai Guruji, Jai Guruji. And, suddenly I kind of open the car door and I'm going, I have to do something. I just don't know what to do, but I opened the car door. I think I was looking for the first aid kit, but anyway, what I found there was Guruji ka Jal Prasad, jo kal ka hamara finish nahi hua tha, which is the only time we kind of brought back anything from Guruji's darbar. तो जैसे ही टिम्सी आंटी को वो जल प्रसाद दिखता है, she goes कि जय गुरुजी, इसके हाथ पे जल प्रसाद डाल दो. And I'm like, पानी डालना तो is not a bad idea. We're just going to do it, and then we're probably going to take him to the doctors or to an emergency room. So we opened one of the Jal Prasad ki bottles from last night. We put it on his hand, and within about 10 to 12 seconds, his bleeding stops. And we kind of still keep pouring the water, and we're still attending to him. Arjun, beta kaise ho? By this time, he's crying, but he's not bawling. And so his bleeding has stopped. And now he starts to ask me the question, Dad, kya hame hospital jana padega? Matlab he's generally not keen to go to the hospitals, not for emergency purposes, not where he thinks he might get an injection. So he's getting worried. And I'm going, of course, jana padega. Look at your hand. But within a space of about 2 to 3 minutes, now I know it's going to sound unbelievable, but it starts to look normal. His nail peels off. Now I can see the nail is off, and I can see a little bit of a bluish tinge as well on his finger, but it starts to look normal. I mean, the bleeding is not there. He is moving his fingers, including the mini joints on the finger. So it all starts to look normal. And I said, hospital to jana padega. Then he goes, acha pehle burger kha le. So, within all this, because his bleeding is gone, his pain is gone, we're not freaking out anymore. So that big accident, even at the end of that big accident, we actually end up having the burger. We end up enjoying the burger, and he never went to the hospital. And his hand is fine, his fingers are fine. So I think in a way, वो गुरुजी की प्लानिंग थी कि हम 1 साल से उनके बारे में सुन रहे हैं, हम 8-10 महीने से उनके पास जा रहे हैं, हमें decorum मालूम है. But right at that point where Timsi Aunty and everybody else and all of us, we're about to get Jal Prasad, we switch over to the larger bottle. For the first time, we don't finish the water with the Jal Prasad. It is there in our car, and it is the same car. We have 2 cars, and we were in the same car. And the next day, when I open the car door, when I want to do something, when I'm looking for first aid kit, the first thing I see is a Jal Prasad. मैं जल प्रसाद डालता हूँ, उसका हाथ ठीक हो जाता है.
So that is Guruji's, and way of showing his presence. And we now sincerely believe like our entire life is a series of satsang. We can go on and on. Like if you feel Guruji is there, then you know that satsangs are happening all the time with you. So in 2019, again, Nitin uncle got a job here in Orange County. So you started coming to SoCal, Irvine, I think from January 2019. And we decided to move in the summer of 2019 because we just wanted our son to complete his current grade at the time and then move. So he was commuting pretty much every day, and we were going to move in June of 2019. Between January and June, I was coming here. We were looking houses together. And at that time, I also looked for, so how Guruji becomes your priority and your life is that when we decided to move here, Orange County to us was kind of like, such a big area, place where we didn't even know where to start our house hunt from. So the only factor, and the most important factor, was that I went online again and I looked where Guruji is, where his Sangat is, that's where we will be. So when I found out that Aunty, she is in Irvine, I told Nitin uncle, that's where we're going to take a house. I don't want to be anywhere else because I want to be close to Guruji, and I just know where Guruji is, that's where our parivar is. So that's how important and such a major shift. Like we from the time like 29 September 2018 is the first time we see him, we meet him, and this is Feb or January of 2019. And I'm literally saying like, I don't want to be anywhere else but where Guruji is, where his parivar is, that's where we're going to get a house. So we start our search. We're looking, and Irvine is the place. This is where we're looking for houses. And in between that, I reached out to Aunty and I asked, how the satsang format is here. And she would have like small satsangs on Monday where there would be, like just maybe 10, 12 Sangat members. And she said, if you want to come, and it was only on Mondays that I was typically coming with uncle in the morning, looking for houses and then flying back in the evening. So I was like, perfect, Monday works. I would sometimes go meet her, sit, attend satsang, share a little bit about my journey and come back. So that was happening. And then I was just in talks with her. We look at several different houses. This house is also a big satsang in a way that first we booked the house, which is next door. It's a mirror image of our house. And the house number is 113. And that's what we book on paper. And then I don't know, in the process, somehow, I feel like, no, that's not the house. I want 115 because it totals up to 7. And that's the house we want. So I make uncle go through the entire process of getting the entire paperwork changed and go into 115. Even with this house where Guruji's Darbar is, the moment I entered this house to see, I entered this room and I go like, this is where Guruji is going to be. This is literally like the very first room in our house. And I'm like, this is where Guruji is going to sit. This is where he's going to be. And this is the house we're going to buy. And so the number change happened. And then I called Aunty and I said that my wish is that we were moving from Bay Area. And I want to, the first week, and here satsangs happen on Thursdays. So it's like the first Thursday after getting the keys, I want to welcome Guruji and I want to have our first satsang. And that was the very first satsang that I was going to have. So I said, I know nothing about how satsangs are organized. I have no idea. Our entire stuff is packed and it's going to be sitting in a public storage. This is going to be bare bones, but my wish is to have a satsang, and Guruji should be the first one to come into the house. So we were going to get our keys in June, the last week of June. And after coordinating with Aunty, we decided that the last Thursday in June is when we're going to have the satsang. But somehow something happens, and there is delay with the builders, and they said there's going to be a couple of weeks or a couple of days, and we will give you the keys. We'll let you know, basically. And so I call Aunty and I say that, we're going to have to reschedule because we're not getting the keys in the last week of June. So Aunty said, okay, no problem. We can do it the following week. And our anniversary is on July 5th. Guruji's birthday is on July 7th. And so I was like, okay, Guruji is going to give us the keys on July 5th. That didn't happen. And the builders kept saying okay, one more day. So I was like, oh, okay. Even the bigger day is Guruji's birthday. So he's going to give us the keys then. Again, nothing happened. And so I go back to Aunty and I say, look, this, I hate to be doing this and, having you, coming to you and telling you that we're going to have satsang every Thursday and then having to reschedule. So let's just do this. Our son's birthday is on July 24th. And that year, he told us that so when we asked him, how do you want to celebrate your birthday? He said, all I want to do this year is celebrate my birthday with Guruji. I want to cut my cake with him. So we said, you don't want to do anything else? He's like, what else do you want me to do? I want to cut my cake with Guruji. I want to celebrate my birthday with him. He's going to come on my birthday, and that's how I want to celebrate. So knowing that, we decided, I called Aunty and I said, okay, July 24th was a Wednesday. And I said, okay, Thursday, 25th July, we're going to have our satsang. By then, for sure, we're going to get the keys. So time passes by. I think we were in the second week of July. Now we are here living in a hotel. Every Mondays, I was going to Aunty to attend the satsang. And so the week of that 24th July, the week before, on Friday, we were supposed to get the keys. And we did not get the keys. Uncle calls me and says the builders had I think the appraisal.
Yeah.
They did it of the house that we previously booked. So 113 is what they appraised. And so the entire paperwork will have to be redone. And so we cannot get the keys. And realistically and logically, if you factor in all of the paperwork and the process, you're looking at about 10 to 15 days worth of work. And there was no way that we were going to get the keys by 24th of July and have the satsang on 25th of July. So Friday, that's what Uncle shares with me. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't know. But Guruji is coming in our house on July 25th. And he's like, that's not happening because the entire paperwork has to be redone. The entire team is going to come out. They're going to go through the house. Then they're going to submit the paperwork. He explained me all the steps and it did not look like it's going to happen. Definitely not in 3 or 4 days time. So that week on Monday, I go to Aunty and I'm attending the satsang. And after that, Aunty is like, okay, so you're going to have the satsang on, you're having your first satsang on Thursday. Would you like to, invite the satsangat and talk a little about, like just welcome them. So I was like, I don't tell her that we did not get the keys. She's like, so aapko keys mil gayi? And I'm like, हाँ आज मिल जाएगी. So she's like, oh, आज मिल जाएगी. I'm like, yeah, आज मिल जाएगी. And this is me knowing that that's not happening, but that's what I tell her. Because I'm like, Guruji ko to aana hi hai, and he is coming on 25th because my son's heart was set on celebrating his birthday with him this year. And I'm like, and I don't know, I just had such a strong belief that it was going to happen that I did not have any doubt. So which is why she asked me to invite the entire Sangat, whoever was sitting there, and I actually invite them. And I'm coming back to the hotel. I give a call to uncle and I'm like, Aunty asked me to invite everyone and I've invited. And he's like, are you serious? It's not happening. Why didn't you tell her that she would have to host the satsang? Like, I'm not saying that. Guruji is coming on Thursday. This Thursday is when he's coming. So anyways, he gets upset. He's like, you're not being logical. This is not happening. It's going to be so embarrassing. You're going to, this just doesn't look decent. I was like, okay, I'm not doing it. I am going back to the hotel. And then I am going out to the stores because we did not have anything. There was a vision that I had in my mind about how I want to have the first darbar of Guruji. I go out to stores, I'm purchasing candles, tea lights, flowers, vases, whatnot that I wanted to, have aligned with my vision. And I'm literally shopping like he's coming on Thursday. So Monday goes by, Tuesday goes by, I'm still shopping. I am checking in with him. He's like, I haven't heard from the builders. And then Tuesday evening, which is 23rd of July, he's like, give me the number of Aunty and I'm going to text her that she would have to host the satsang because it's not happening. No, actually he says, why don't you text her? I'm like, I'm not going to give it any meaning. I'm not going to give it any verbal meaning. I'm not going to give it any written meaning. I'm not going to text and I'm not going to, give it any importance basically. So if you want to do it, I am happy to share her number. Be my guest, text her and let her know that that's going to be the fallback option. So I give him the number and according to me, he's texted Aunty. But when he comes back from office, he tells me he literally typed the entire message, but he could not press send. So he typed it like 2-3 times and then he could not get himself to hit send and he kept deleting it. So he also did not send any message to Aunty about we not getting the keys of the house. Wednesday on Arjun's birthday comes and in the morning, there is no idea about whether we're going to get the keys or not. And then I remember around 4 p.m. in the evening, he gives me a call and he says, the office is going to close at 5 and they have said they have the keys. So we can literally go and pick up the keys and Guruji will be able to come. Can you imagine? Like, words will fall short. I know for people, it's hard to believe or the logical brain is always more active. It's so hard, but this is like the real validation to Guruji, working his magic and making things happen. If your faith is strong, if you completely surrender to him and not think about anything else. Because through this entire time, the entire week, I was busy preparing for his darbar. I had no doubt in my mind that he was not going to come. And so when we got the keys, we like literally rushed. The office was about to close. We got the keys and then we didn't even open the house. This Sarup that's there, uska bhi bahut bada satsang hai, but we had it in Michael's and we got the Swaroop. As we were coming out, I had my phone in my hand. I don't know how, like uncle and my son was holding the Swaroop. Somehow the mantra jap turns on, starts playing, and Guruji was the first one to enter in the house. And that happens. We're all so happy. Guruji made it happen. But then what happens is, like, because this was our first satsang, and because we did not have anything, Aunty was gonna arrange for everything, and she was gonna come and guide us how to set up the darbar, and she was gonna get everything else. So she calls me. I'm going to backtrack. So I missed this portion. So in the afternoon, before uncle called me at 4, letting me know about the keys, before that, Aunty actually called me at 2, and she asked me, what is the plan? When do you want to set up the darbar? Tonight or tomorrow? And at that point, we had no idea about, whether are we going to get the keys or no. So when she calls me, I'm like telling her, Aunty, give me an hour or so. Can I give you a call back and let you know when we're going to set up the darbar? And at that point, she literally thought कि मैं पागल हूँ, because in her tone, like, I could feel like she was like, पर टिम्सी सत्संग तो कल ही है ना, तो दरबार तो सेट करना है. Like, हाँ आंटी, I know दरबार सेट करना है, बस आप मुझे 1 घंटा दे दो. I just need to find out something from uncle and I'll give you a call back. She's like, I also have to plan my day accordingly, so let me know soon. And I'm like, हाँ बस 1 घंटा दे दो and I'll call back. And at that point, she still had no idea what was going on around the keys. And so when we got the keys in the evening, I finally give her a call and I tell her, and she was just so surprised. She's like, I have no words. I have no idea that on Monday you were here. You invited everyone. You had no idea about the keys. And even in the afternoon when I called you, you're not telling me anything. You had no idea. You weren't gonna get the keys. The builders weren't telling you anything, and you still had the nerve to keep going on. So that was another big example, and I think one of the biggest examples of our lives, that miracles do happen. Guruji make it happen. You just have to show, how much you trust him and how much you believe in him. Just leave everything to him and he'll take care of it. So that was our satsang about how this house came about, and our very first satsang happened in this house.
So I just realized we don't have a lot of time left, but I do want to share one more satsang, and I'll go a little bit faster. What Timsi Aunty said about Guruji being connected with you way before you actually find out. And that's what we've been hearing from everybody else as well, that, some of the older satsang, that Guruji is connected with you from very, very early on, maybe as soon as you're born, and you just happen to find out about it later on. So, and one day when some of you get to meet Arjun, he's a pretty interesting kid. I mean, he's 10 years old. He doesn't like to watch movies. He's never watched any movie, not even a single movie. He doesn't like superheroes. He doesn't identify with any superheroes. He doesn't listen to music, nothing at all. But if you give him Guruji's shabads, he can listen to them all day long. All he does is listen to Guruji's shabads, plays tabla. He has not learned tabla, but he just kind of bangs the tabla. He made us buy him a tabla. He just bangs the tabla as the shabad is playing. So he just keeps looking at Guruji's videos and keeps banging on his tabla. So he was born in 2010, and he was born premature. So he was born premature, and he was only 3.3 pounds. So wo khali 1.5 kilo ka tha. He was very tiny. And he was also born with a lot of congenital issues. Some of them being related to the heart. At the time we were in India, we were in Delhi. And because of his small size, his prematurity, and the number of issues that he had, there was no doctor in Delhi that wanted to treat him. Now, this is probably a satsang for another day, but we finally found a doctor in Bangalore in an institution called Narayan Hrudyalaya who said, bring him to me and I will fix him. So anyway, we take him to Bangalore. And he was born in July 2010. We take him to Bangalore in August 2010, or the beginning of September. And Bangalore as soon as we went there, he went to the ICU, and he had one critical surgery to be done, which was right outside the heart. He had some blocking outside the heart. So that surgery got done, and he became ventilator dependent. And he'd become habitual to the ventilator. So I mean, we were in Bangalore, in this remote part of Bangalore. The place is called Bomasandra, or actually it's something above Bomasandra, and it's considered a remote part of Bangalore. और वहाँ पे हमारे लिए तो कुछ करने के लिए था नहीं हमारे पास, तो हम सारा दिन क्या करते थे, हम हॉस्पिटल में ही रहते थे। अर्जुन से खाली 2 बार ही मिल सकते थे दिन में, 10 मिनट सुबह और 10 मिनट शाम को। तो बीच में हम क्या करते थे कि काम भी इतना करने का मन नहीं करता था, टू बी ऑनेस्ट। तो नारायण विद्यालय के बाहर, इफ यू लुक एट एनी ऑफ द इमेजेस ऑफ नारायण विद्यालय, उसके जस्ट बाहर एंट्रेंस पे एक 4 डायमेंशनल 4 डोर वाला what looks like a mandir है. So what it basically is, one door is for mandir, one door is for masjid, one door is for church, and one door is for gurdwara. अब हमारे पास वहां कुछ करने के लिए होता नहीं था, तो हम सारा दिन वहीं बैठे रहते थे, उसी जगह पे। बड़ी छोटा सा स्पेस, ये चारों बड़ी छोटी सी जगह। और मुझे उस टाइम की आदत पड़ गई थी कि 1-2 घंटे बैठे मंदिर में, 1-2 घंटे बैठे गुरुद्वारे में, 1-2 घंटे बैठे मंदिर में, 1-2 घंटे बैठे गुरुद्वारे में। And I used to have so many out of body experiences during that time. और मुझे पता भी नहीं था उस टाइम ये out of body experiences होते क्या थे। And every time I would close my eyes, I would immediately go and find myself like on a mountain. And you know, on the mountain, Arjun is in my hand, and I would either see Shivji or I would see Guru Nanak Dev. And you know, sometimes they would be mad at me, sometimes they would be happy with me, and most of the time they would give me a reassurance. So long story short, by December, Arjun came off the ventilator. So for the first 6 months, he was actually in the ICU, but after 6 months, we finally got him. तो उसके हार्ट के अंदर भी at birth he had 2 holes. Now one hole is called the AST, the second hole is called the VST. So his AST naturally closed. So no open heart surgery was necessary, but his VST did not. तो 1 साल हुआ, हम कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट को विजिट करते थे, तो उन्होंने बोला कि VST क्लोज नहीं हुआ है, at some point we might have to do something about it. अगला साल निकल गया, VST क्लोज नहीं हुआ है, अगर ये naturally क्लोज नहीं होता, at some point we might have to do some kind of an open heart surgery. So as the years went by, we kept getting the same answer from all the cardiologists. And on the other hand, Timsi Aunty kept repeating, you know, मेरे को ये firm believe है कि इसका heart touch नहीं होगा, मतलब open heart surgery नहीं होगी. And she would just keep repeating that. She would just keep repeating that. So,
and this is just us not knowing anything about Guruji. But at that time, this is 2010, 11. We have no idea who Guruji is. We have no idea, you know, about anything related to him. So this is just pure us talking about, you know, not knowing anything of him.
So yeah, so 2018 comes about, at which point we're still in San Francisco, और San Francisco में भी जो cardiologist हैं, वो हमें बोलते हैं कि VST तो अभी भी close नहीं हुआ है, but there is a number that they call the gradient, and they said the gradient is about 35. It'll make sense if there is anybody who's from medical field on the call here. It'll make sense to you, but they said it's so low that we don't have to worry about it, and because he's already 8 or 9, you know, it's probably never going to close. And they kind of set an expectation with us that, you know, औरों लोगों को भी होता है, but it's okay, it's not a problem. 2019 came about, still the same thing, went to the San Francisco specialist. He used to get every 6 months, he used to get a review. And then 2020 came about, and in 2020, by this time we had moved to Irvine. So we had to change his medical practitioner. We had to change from Dr. Kishore, जो San Francisco में इसके cardiologist थे, to Dr. Anjan Batra. डॉक्टर किशोर के फ्रेंड जो अरवाइन में रहते हैं, उन्होंने बोला कि आप अगर अरवाइन मूव हो रहे हो तो ही इज अ ग्रेट डॉक्टर, सो कंटिन्यू फॉलोइंग अप विद हिम. तो अगस्त ऑफ 2020 आई टेक हिम टू डॉक्टर अंजन, अरवाइन में जो अर्जुन के न्यू कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट हैं. तो आई हैव नेवर मेट हिम बिफोर, and he kind of sits me down and he goes, okay, what's going on? I said सारा का सारा हिस्ट्री दिया, ये वेट था, ये सर्जरी हुई, ये इसका लास्ट 10 साल से रिव्यू चल रहा है, and you know the VST has not closed, so just a regular follow up to make sure कि you know gradient में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है और कुछ और करना नहीं है. तो बोलते ठीक है, हम इसका वो करेंगे अल्ट्रासाउंड नहीं कीजिए. तो वो अल्ट्रासाउंड करते हैं, फिर वापस आ जाते हैं जहाँ मैं बैठा हूँ. वो बोलते हैं कि क्या बताया आपने कि इसको क्या है? मैंने कहा VST 35 ग्रेडियंट्स, मेरे को जितना भी याद था मैंने सब उनको बता दिया. फिर वो वापस अल्ट्रासाउंड के रूम में जाते हैं, मैं देख नहीं रहा हूँ, वो अपना वहां जा रहे हैं. फिर वो वापस आते हैं, क्या बताया आपने क्या है? मैंने कहा कि ASD क्लोज हो गया, बाहर हार्ट के वो सर्जरी हुई थी वो ब्लॉकेज की वजह से, और VSD 35 ग्रेडियंट। और डॉक्टर किशोर ने बोला था, जो आपके फ्रेंड है, डॉक्टर किशोर ने बोला था कि वो तो अब ऐसे ही रहेगा, तो बोलते मेरे साथ आ। तो मैंने कहा ठीक है, मैं मतलब चलो। तो इससे पहले, इनफैक्ट इस दिन से पहले, शुरू उसके कुछ लीडिंग अप टू इट, काफी महीने पहले, टिम्सी आंटी जब भी सत्संग के लिए हमारे घर में, हम अपने घर में अपनी फैमिली, छोटी फैमिली के लिए हम सत्संग करते हैं हर थर्सडे को। हर
Because
थर्सडे
lockdown mein, everything went virtual. So every Thursday we were doing satsang at our own house.
So every time she would make langar prasad for satsang, तो रोटी की शेप है, तो सेकंड रोटी अगर बना रही है तो वो हार्ट शेप में आ रहा है, पूड़ी बना रही है, सेकंड पूड़ी बना रही है तो वो हार्ट शेप में आ रही थी, उत्तपम बना रही है, सेकंड उत्तपम बना रही है तो वो हार्ट शेप में आ रही है। तो एनीवे, तो ऐसा होता रहा, एंड वी कुड नेवर अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट्स गोइंग ऑन। और वो चाय भी पी रहे हैं तो चाय में भी हार्ट शेप बन रही है। वी हैव अ लॉट ऑफ फोटोज ऑफ अ लॉट ऑफ दैट, इट्स ऑल लुकिंग लाइक अ हार्ट शेप। तो एनीवे, वो मेरे को अल्ट्रासाउंड रूम में लेके जाते हैं।
So no, actually, sorry, I'm gonna chime in. So the week he had this appointment, just a week before that, one auntie who is a very close friend of mine, I was just sharing with her, like, it's just strange. It's been so many months. Guruji is showing me hard in the second of everything that I'm making. I don't know what his signal is. What is he trying to tell me? And so she kind of like nudged me and pushed me towards kind of thinking what it could mean. And so when we were the previous Thursday, when we sat down to do the satsang, after that, I actually, they're all the witnesses to that I, after the satsang, I was sharing, that Guruji is showing me a heart in the second of everything that I'm doing. Is he trying to signal me that Arjun's second hole has been taken care of by him? And this is when he had no chance of it being closed without an intervention. That's all that we kept hearing for the 10 years of his life. And I was like, but I don't know. I feel like, maybe that's what he's trying to signal, with no hope and obviously medically it not being possible. But that's what I go on to say. And they were all there. And so the following week when he actually went,
तो उसके बाद वो मेरे को अल्ट्रासाउंड रूम में लेके जाते हैं और मेरे को बोलते हैं कि देखो, कोई होल ही नहीं है। तो मैंने कहा कि डॉक्टर किशोर ने बोला था कि होल है। तो 10 साल से यही सुनते आ रहे हैं कि ग्रेडियंट मतलब कभी 30 हो रहा था, कभी 35 हो रहा था, पर होल है। तो वो मेरे को अल्ट्रासाउंड वाली डिवाइस मेरे को दिखा के बोलते हैं कि दिखाओ मेरे को कहाँ होल है। मैंने कहा आई डोंट नो एनी ऑफ दिस, ऑल आई नो इज व्हाट द डॉक्टर्स टेल मी, एंड ये देखो, ये पिछली रिपोर्ट है, ये पिछली रिपोर्ट है, पिछली रिपोर्ट है। तो anyway, he shuts down the ultrasound machine, and he's actually a little bit angry right now. He actually thinks right now that I'm making a fool out of him. So he comes back to the room and he straight away calls Dr. Kishore. कि Dr. Kishore is his friend. कि तुमने यहाँ पे पेशेंट भेजा है, ये पेशेंट बोल रहा है कि इनके बेटे के हार्ट में होल है, but there is no hole, so what is going on? Dr. Kishore doesn't answer. But anyway, that was the day when, on medical records, on paper, Dr. Anjan concluded that there is no hole in the heart. In fact, last week इसका दोबारा रिव्यू था, so अब once a year रिव्यू होता है, last week इसका दोबारा रिव्यू था, तो अभी भी थोड़ी सी क्यूरियोसिटी थी मेरे को। तो मैंने बोला डॉक्टर अंजन इसके होल का? बोलते हाँ कोई होल नहीं है, डोंट वरी अबाउट द होल, देयर इज नो होल। सो with Guruji's grace, with Guruji's blessings, his heart, the hole in the heart, which we had come to terms with, we'd made peace with, that it's going to be there forever, that closed in a very surreal, remarkable, unrealistic, and unimaginable fashion. So
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, satsang agar share karte hain to काफी लंबी list हो जाएगी, and I know we're out of time, so I apologize. We've gone a little bit over time. I know Timsi Aunty wants to say a couple more things. From my standpoint, I will say that week on week, every time we go to satsang now, मेरे को जब भी बोलते हैं कि आप कुछ शेयर करो, आप कुछ सत्संग शेयर करो, मुझे समझ नहीं आता कि मैं शुरू कहाँ से करूं। प्रॉब्लम ये नहीं है कि शेयर करने के लिए नहीं है, प्रॉब्लम ये है कि समझ नहीं आता कहाँ से शुरू करें। वो पूरी लाइफ एक सत्संग का पैकेज बन गई है। तो वो समझ नहीं आता वो कौन सा एपिसोड के बारे में बात करें, वो कौन सी चीज के बारे में बात करें। यू नो, अ लॉस्ट फोन बीइंग फाउंड, फोन की बैटरी डेड है फिर भी वो चल रहा है। यू नो, ये सब चीजें इस रेट पे हो रही हैं, इस रेट पे होती हैं कि वो सत्संग, मतलब आई एम जनरली out of words. Actually, more than out of words, I have so many words that I don't know what to say. So, you know, he's become the center point, the center of gravity for our lives.
Yeah. And Arjun is the reason why I think Guruji took us in his sharan, because ek 10 saal ka bacha aur ye aaj se nahi hai, when he was 8, that's when we got to know Guruji. तब से जो उसका गुरुजी के तरफ डिवोशन है, दैट्स जस्ट आई थिंक उसको वर्ड्स में नहीं एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज अगर आज हम उसको बोलें you leave school and all you can do is you're allowed to free to just sit in his darbar and just be with him, he would be like, okay, my life is perfect, it is all set, I have what I want. That's the kind of devotion he has towards Guruji. That's the kind of love he has for Guruji. Agar hum usko out of sight chhodte hain and we're like in the house, if looking for him, we're not able to see him, we know he's here. So literally, like all the time, as uncle said, like 24/7 he can listen to shabads, 24/7 he can be here with him. He has shared so many satsangs and his experiences that probably another day to share. And I would like to conclude by just saying, like, there are these 4 pillars that I kind of feel like are the basis of my life now, and those are the teachings from Guruji. The first one is having 100% faith over fear. Just know when you go to him in his darbar, just go with utmost trust. Even if you have any 1% of fear, just try to shrug it off and tell yourself that I believe in him, because trust me, there are so many experiences, so many incidences that I have personally that I can vouch that every time you leave your trust and faith in him, he will not let you down. He's always by your side. The second is learning the art to sway with him. Just let him have the control of your life. Just let him be with you, control your life, because he knows nothing but he only wishes best for his children. And the more you learn to the art to sway with him, the more you would see his love come about, his magic happening, his miracles happening. The third one is he answers in real time. So many thousands and thousands of personal experiences. As uncle said, he shared, every time you have a question, he answers. It's just आपको अपना नजरिया बदलना है, आपको अपना सोचने का तरीका बदलना है. I am not trying to preach, but I am talking out of personal experience, because every time I have had any question, some way or the other, he has answered. It's just you need to look for it. You just need to realize he answers. And the last one is let him be the master of your life, because I feel like he knows the biggest picture of your life. He knows the complete picture of your life. So there are so many moments when I or him or us together as a family, we are planning for something, we want something so bad and it doesn't happen. But now we don't question it. We don't even feel bad about it, honestly, because we're like, गुरुजी ने कुछ और ही अच्छा प्लान करके रखा होगा, क्योंकि हम में इतनी बुद्धि नहीं है कि we know what is right or wrong for us. And when we go in with that trust, few months, few days, weeks, or whatever, years later, you would realize why he didn't let it happen, because there was something better in store for you. So don't question his decisions for you. So with that, we would like to conclude, I think, our journey with him. Guruji has just been such a blessing, and thank you again once again, Guruji, for letting us share our journey with all of you. कोई गलती हुई हो तो प्लीज क्षमा कीजिएगा, and thank you again for hearing us.
Jai Guruji.
Jai
Thank you so
Guruji.
much, Guruji, for such a blissful moment. And the third point that you took, that is just in time answers. And I'm getting goosebumps when I share. The moment I saw both of you, I was like, I have seen them somewhere. But ye to Irvine mein hai. And then you're sharing Fremont. So uncle has been giving me Jal Prashad in Fremont. So Jai Guruji, I've seen you guys, but I did not know who you are because discipline, nahi baat karni. So you, when you see my picture, which I'll share later on, you'll know who I am because my trademark is also my kid. So Jai Guruji. And the moment I was thinking, that very minute, uncle said, we used to go in Fremont. So there he goes. He vouches. And now I have a face for the satsang where this message got, viral of Arjun's recovery because we are part of the same WhatsApp groups. So now I have a face to the satsang because I've never asked Kon Sangat whenever it's his timing. So we would definitely have you again. And this is the exact time when Guruji Maharaj wants everybody to understand faith over fear. Our family members back home or extended family or friends are having tough time, but the message is faith over fear. So thank you so much, both of you, and thank you, Guruji, for choosing you to share this. And Thursdays I've seen this darbar couple of times, and now the jigsaw is complete for me today personally. So thank you, Guruji, and Shukrana, Guruji. And it's a big blessing for all of us. The takeaway is he can do anything. So Shukrana, thank you, and we would definitely have you again.
Jai
Thank
Guruji.
you. Jai Guruji.
जय गुरु जी। संगत जी, किसी का भी आज बर्थडे है, आपका या आपकी फैमिली का में किसी का, many many happy returns of the day to you or your family member. May Guruji give देह रोगता, that is tandurusti, to everyone, and sarbatta pala. With these words, over to you, Subodh ji, for the Agya Shabad. After this Shabad, Sangat ji, you can unmute and take Agya.
गुर जैसा नहीं को देव, गुर जैसा नहीं को देव, जिस मस्तक पाग सुलगा से, जिस मस्तक पाग सुलगा से, गुर जैसा नहीं को देव, गुर जैसा सुलागा सेव, जिस मस्तक पाग सुलागा से, गुर जैसा सतगुर मेरा बेमोहताज, सतगुर मेरा बेमोहताज, सतगुर मेरे सच्चा साज सतगुर मेरे सच्चा साज सतगुर मेरा सबस का दाता सतगुर मेरा सबस का दाता सतगुर मेरा पुरख विधाता सतगुर मेरा पुरख विधाता पुरख विधाता गुर जैसा नाही को दे गुर जैसा नाही को दे जिस मस्तक पार सुलागा से
Shukrana Guruji. Thank you once again, Uncle and Aunty. Shukrana Sangat ji. You can unmute yourself and take Agya.
अनंतम शुक्राना मेरे मालिक,
शुक्राना
सर्वत का भला करो गुरु महाराज।
लख लख शुक्राना
आज्ञा गुरुजी।